Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's reading could be anything from a bit of fun through to something quite serious. It really depends on what comes out with the cards. But the reading was inspired by a new oracle deck that I just got from Rockpool Publishing. The oracle deck is called the Mystic Martian Oracle, and it's much more than about Martians, but the title does give it away to some degree in that it is very much focused on the different sorts of extra-dimensional and extraterrestrial races that have been documented, seen, believed in, and so forth. And whether or not you believe that they're from other planets or other dimensions, as I say, is probably pretty much a matter for you. But this deck has all of those different races or species in it, and their documented or believed characteristics. And it also has things like the elements, things like the Ouroboros, the macabre, various sorts of mystical elements or types of belief or types of energy and so forth. A bit hard to describe exactly the Ouroboros and so forth, but that kind of thing is there in there as well. So how I'm going to structure this reading is I'm going to use that deck firstly to look at 3 cards to give us a sense about what extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial energies or other sort of mystical energies may be around you. If in any of the readings we only get elements and energies, we don't get a race, I'm going to pull a further card from the deck to get a race. What that would probably be saying is that what's more important at the moment for you are the energies, and then connect that to the race to work out whether or not this is a beneficial or a challenging energy for you to deal with. So that depends on what comes out with it. It may also have a number of races, and it could be indicating a number of facets for your life. But then we will look at what this is meant to be for you, what Spirit's advice is, what other sort of spiritual talent, skills, etc. you have in your kit bag to make the most of this or to deal with it if it's challenging. And why I'm saying it could be challenging is this deck doesn't pull any punches. It has some of the species or races that aren't known to be necessarily that human friendly. So I think if that energy comes up, it could be Spirit wanting to protect you and give you information to deal with that, or even to indicate that that kind of energy might be manifesting not directly from those species, but from in another form in 3D life. So for instance, if the draconian race came up, the Draco race, it's not a race that you'd want to invite around for a weekend party, let's put it that way. Very dictatorial, very totalitarian, very controlling. So it could either be that that energy is around you and Spirit wants to give you the protective information to put boundaries around it, or it could be that it's manifesting in your life at the moment through a very controlling workforce or a difficult relationship that's very controlling and so forth. So we'll just see what comes out of it. Hopefully none of them have that kind of energy, but they might. And if Spirit wants you to look at that and wants to help you with that, then I think just like the deck, Spirit won't pull the punches on that, but it will always be for your highest good and to help you deal with that energy. So the nature of the readings will very much depend upon which species, races and energies come up. And those cards there are the Mystic Martian Oracle cards, and they've been intuitively pulled for this particular reading. I don't know what they are at this point in time, but we will see as we go along. As always, the important thing is to connect into the right reading for you, and you're of course welcome to look at more than one reading if you feel pulled to more than one reading. I'm using excuse me, the chakra placement stones as a way to help you tune in. So on pile 1 there is the sacral chakra placement stone, on pile 2 there's the third eye stone, and on pile 3 there's the crown chakra stone. That doesn't mean, as I always say when I use these stones or placement stones, that they are, this is about the sacral chakra, this is about the third eye, this is about the crown chakra. I don't know, as I always say, what's under the cards. I just think that they are energies that may connect a lot with this sort of reading. So the crown chakra, the third eye in terms of telepathy, and sacral around how you manifest things in the world, you know, the creativity, the creative energy and so forth. So that's why they were chosen. And you may feel connected to one of those and that may help you choose, or you may do it by colour or some other way. That's completely up to you. If you need to pause the video to make your selection, by all means do so. When you do know which reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps, as always, are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So we have 2 races here, and we also have an element, and it's very interesting actually, the races that are here. I think it gives a pretty clear message for what pile 1 may be involved in and why these energies are around you. The good news is that they're both very friendly energies to humanity. But I think the combination of them together here with the earth element is an understanding that humanity is facing certain things at the moment and dealing with certain things in a very material, political, structural power basis that they have gone through. The Celestialsstudioo, I may not be pronouncing that correctly, are in alliance with the Pleiadians. And the Celestialsstudioo are about living simply. They have dealt with the draconian energy, the Draco race, the wish, around that for totalitarianism, that kind of control, and have been able to release themselves from that with the alliance with the Pleiadians. And they are therefore quite sensitive to issues about control, whether covert, like mind control, or overt, like political structures and so forth. The Pleiadians had to go through their own issues around that many millennia ago before ascending to the 5th dimension, to a higher sort of level of being. And that was about understanding the impact of ego and control and competition and so forth. And then we have Earth, which I think literally means here Earth, what is going on Earth at the moment, but also the grounding of spiritual energy, the making of it in a practical way that has an impact and understands the impact of the material world. So putting these 3 things together, I think that this is saying that you are in connection with these particular races because you are aware of the issues that we are dealing with at the moment on our planet around political power, political choice, freedom, democracy, all of those sorts of issues. There are major things going on, regardless of whatever your political belief is. There are major things going on at the moment in the world around that, around control and around what is for the higher good and the betterment of humanity and of the earth, but also where that could tip into a situation where it's used for a covert sort of mind control area of making people be under a control through saying that something is being done for the earth or done for humanity, but is actually being done for power. There's a very strong energy around that. And so I feel that pile 1, you are somehow connected to that, whether or not you are literally involved in politics or environmental concerns or social justice or any of those things, or whether it is more that you are becoming more attuned to that and looking at what the impact of loss of freedoms potentially is having and what the balance is. And this isn't saying what is right or wrong in the political spectrum. This is just saying that I think that you would be highly attuned to and connected to these energies to work out what is for the greater good of all and the spiritual ascension of all, even if it is difficult sometimes for people, compared to what is being said to be the greater good of all, and the difficulty is for that, but it's actually more for the power of the few. So if you think about the fact that there was a battle with the draconian energy here, that there was an understanding of that balance and what is egoic and power oriented and what is for the good of others as part of the Pleiadian ascension journey, and then Earth grounds this, I think the message is really clear. You are connected to that in some way, or Spirit wants you to be thinking about that now, that they're part of your spiritual journey, part of your mission here, in whatever level it operates, pile 1, is to recognize that, is to, in a sense, look into the belly of the beast and be prepared to see it, and then work out how do we get the best out of this. So I think it's very powerful, and I think it's very, very good that we've got energies here extra-dimensionally or extraterrestrially from races that are close, in terms of physical terms in our various galaxies and within the universe, and also ones that are very pro-humanity and pro that sort of freedom issue and the grounding that is good for all. So let's ask Spirit what this energy is having at the moment for you. What is the purpose of this connection? If these beings are connecting with you quite literally, and I suspect they are, then what is the purpose of that for you at the moment in your life? Okay, so firstly, it's very clear here, pile 1, that you are very closely connected to the earth, but for some reason you're feeling a bit detached from it. It may be because you're picking up some of these energies. You're picking up that something's not quite right. In your spiritual sense, there's an imbalance going on, and that causes, it kind of freezes you in a way from being able to make the decisions that you need to make. You feel a bit alone with it though. It looks as though you've had an aha moment around what is going on in the world, and you feel like a lot of other people are not seeing it. That, you know, are you crazy? Why is everybody else thinking this and I'm feeling this? You're feeling kind of alone. But on another level, you can feel you are very, very connected to the earth. You are very, very connected to Gaia, to that sense of what is meant to flourish and grow and build. And you do feel at the moment, and Spirit is saying you're right, that there is an imbalance there. The Page of Pentacles reverse suggests that you have reached quite a high degree of understanding and connection with that, but you're feeling disconnected from it. Now, this is a timeless reading. But if you are watching it sort of in the second half of 2021, which is when it is being filmed, it could literally be as a result of lockdowns and so forth around the pandemic. You may literally feel alone and cut off from the earth, from nature, from all those sort of things. And that issue may be making you wonder, what's this serving? Is this to our greater good and we all just need to be stoic and go with it, or is it not? And so, and again, I'm not going to get into arguments about that one way or the other. I'm just saying that that may be an element of something here where you're not sure, with the world reversed, that things are being fully realized in the way that they're meant to be and so forth. And with the death reversed, it feels like you feel like a change needs to come, but it's stuck in some way. You're stuck, or you feel the energy around this is stuck. Now, the good news with the 9 of Swords reversed is you are coming out of a period of anxiety. It does look like Spirit is saying that part of the reason that these species are connecting with you on the psychic spiritual level is because they've seen this pattern and they want to help. They want to give you the information that takes you out of a sense of anxiety and takes you out of a sense of being alone, so that you can start to reconnect with the earth and complete whatever it is that you're meant to be doing. For some of you, quite literally, something may be occurring at the moment. And as I say, it could very easily, depending on the timing, be something like lockdowns and some of the very practical issues that come out of that. Or it may be something else in your life that is not completing, and it's got something to do with what are the power structures around you. So it may be in your workplace that there is something not working around power and structure and respect for each other. You would have a very strong sense of wanting diversity and inclusion and fairness. It's very much connected. That's why you're connecting with these energies. And you're very practical about it, pile 1. So if that's out of whack, it may not, as I say, be the grand political scheme. It just may be that you can't, at this point, make the decisions that you need to make to fully bring something into being, because it's stuck in some way because of the difference between the mission statement of, say, the organisation you're in, for argument's sake, and what they're really doing in terms of power dynamics. So there's something there, and you have felt alone. But Spirit is saying part of this connection is to reground you and make you realise you're not alone, that you're part of something bigger. And I do think for many of you, you may work, if not now, at some point in the political sphere or in some sort of social justice or something like that. There's that kind of sense around it for you, because you are so dialed in to the nuances of this sort of thing, and you see it in a very practical way. So if that's the case, if this is saying that you are connecting with these energies because you have a finely tuned antenna to power, the impact of power in the world and the impact of ego in the world, and you can already see where we should be heading and what that means in a practical sense, but it's also made you feel bold but a little bit wary about all of this, and a bit alone, then let's ask Spirit for some clarification on these cards, just in terms of what Spirit would be advising you, and also what energy and advice is coming from these species, these races to you, to help you particularly move that Page of Pentacles and the world around, so that you can complete what you need to complete, move to the next cycle, you know, do your mission in this earth, in whatever level that is. Sorry, it can be a little bit hard to read the writing on this sometimes. Okay, so Spirit is saying quite clearly here, pile one, that whatever this is that you're trying to ground, earth, or bring into being, you need to keep on keeping on. We have the Nine of Wands there. There is that sense that you are closer to your goal than you think. And if you're feeling a bit exhausted, take some time out, but don't give up. Like, that's the very strong message. Firstly, is don't give up. What you're trying to bring into being is the right thing to bring into being, and these energies will help you, right, by making you understand the environment that you're in. We've got the Emperor reversed here, and that could be indicating that, yes, you are around a power struggle at the moment that is not a legitimate power struggle. The thing I'm getting really strongly from that, because it's clarifying the Death card reversed, is that you are meant to be your own boss, you are meant to be your own master, whatever that means to you. So whether that's in work, whether that's politically, whether it's around a cause, whether it's creatively, while you stay within conventional structures, you are going to feel an outsider. You're going to feel like a stranger in a strange land. There is something about you completing what it is that you're doing, but more on your own in some way. And if that takes a little bit longer because of resourcing, that's fine. But once you realize, Spirit is saying here, particularly with the Six of Swords, once you realize that you have everything you need within you, you don't need these structures, and in fact, if anything, they hold you back, and that you have this connection with energies that are much more about evolution and much more about the good of all, then you'll get that peace of mind, that clarity. You'll be able to move forward. You worry because you feel so different to other people that maybe you're a bit deluded, or you're going off on harebrained schemes on some level, because we've got the Seven of Cups here reversed. And so there's a sense like, am I being pragmatic enough? But again, I feel like there's an aha moment for you. This energy is coming in to give you that aha moment, to make you feel more comfortable with what you're doing. You're not mad, one. And if you think the rest of the world is going mad, or your organization is going mad, or whatever, you're probably right about that. But the answer for this, whatever you're meant to bring to whatever this particular thing is in you owning who you are and running your own race in many ways. It's not about fitting in with the conventional. We've got the King of Pentacles reversed here, and then the Five of Pentacles. You're not a conventional person. You are very earth related, but at the moment, because you're trying to fit into structures that are not true to you, you're not really fully realizing that capacity you have to manifest and to bring things into being. So Spirit is saying this is about, these connections is about you understanding a purpose that is potentially greater than yourself, but which you have maybe sublimated or blocked or been unsure of, because it is different to the common everyday. It is different to whatever job maybe you're doing, the friends that you're around, something like that. Now, this doesn't mean you have to necessarily leave the job or leave your friends. It just may mean that you need a side hobby that becomes something where you're your own boss and you bring something to being, and so forth. So it'll differ depending upon who it is. But you are seeing something ahead of the curve of other people here. You are seeing what we could be with the Pleiadian energy, but what we have to be wary of and strong and resilient against, so that we don't suffer in the process, or we fail to ground it in some way. So that, I do think for many of you, there's something quite significant here that you're involved in, but significant is at whatever level and whatever it means to you. So I want to use a deck that uses other celestial energy, it's sort of celestial constellations, and it asks the question. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards from this deck, and then we're going to see what questions these energies, these entities are wanting you to really think about and focus on to birth whatever it is I think that you're meant to birth, or to free yourself in whatever way you're meant to free yourself. Okay, so I'm going to read you what's on here, because even when I take it up to the camera, I found it's very hard to sort of focus it and read it. But the question for Pegasus, and I'll need to pick it up because I think I need glasses for these. What if, sorry, I am actually going to pause this video for a second. Sorry, I'm going to get glasses. So, back again. Hopefully this will be easier. What if loving even the undiscovered parts of ourselves is the greatest act of resolution we are capable of? Says Pegasus. And then Crooks says, what if we are not measured by what happens to us, but rather by how we respond to it? So, sorry about that break there, but I did need that to read these cards. These cards are beautiful, but the writing is very small. So I think that is very interesting. It's suggesting this unloved parts of ourselves, the parts that we are potentially denying, are in fact the thing that we need to bring to the surface. And so, and what other people think does not matter. So I think that the Pleiadians and the Tau Sentians or Setians are asking you, and Spirit is asking you, to reconsider what you're bringing to the table and your perspective on it, because it is more on point than others. And the more that you get pushback, the more it's going to give you information about what you're meant to do. So given that, let's have a look at the cards that were also pre-chosen for this deck. And so these are around, there's two different decks here that look at potential spiritual gifts and ancestry and legacy that you may have that could help you in this. So firstly, we're going to look at the sort of broad legacy, ancestry, what you bring in with yourself that is kind of with this incarnation, which is kind of landing what this energy is for you. Okay, so firstly over here we have starseed. So I think that is very much really anchoring the fact that you're connecting. You may very well have come from either of those two races. That might be why they're connected, and because they're in alliance, it could be either or it could be both. But you definitely have starseed energy around you. So you are able to empathically look at these sort of spiritual levels and the broadest of galaxy and what's going on in the universe. You pick that up. You pick up those sorts of patterns. You're also very karmically attuned because you've got the Akashic records. So this is where all the events of your soul's journey are kept. It's kept for all of us. And this is about past, present and future. This gives a perspective. Those who are connected with the Akashic records, those who have a sense of what's in their Akashic records, understand the consequences of things. And I think that that's very much the energy that these particular races are trying to connect with you about. They have been through this journey. They have been through the sorts of things that you are dealing with, either on a very personal level or on a broader political level. And so they are helping you access that information about who you are. And it's one of the reasons why you're meant to do this. It's interesting. We've also got Instagram platform, because this is probably them and Spirit saying to you that you have a message that you can bring out to the world. Also, if you have been feeling alone, there is something in social media. There are other people who have similar sort of viewpoints. There are people that you could reach out with and connect with and feel less crazy, less like you're seeing the world so differently to everybody else. Find out that there's a grounding to what you do, because it's coming from a very solid base. It's coming from a very strong sense of past, present and future and the consequences of actions. The other oracle is the supernatural oracle. So this is to see if there's any other supernatural sort of gifts or legacies, etc., that might be helping you at the moment. Okay. So we've got two divinatory things, tea leaf reading and tarot cards. It's saying signs will guide you, wait for clarity. I think some of that is about connecting with others, thinking things through. You are going to have an aha moment. You are going to see this. Even this reading may help you to feel more confident about this. It's also suggesting, and as I said, the sense of consequences, the Akashic record connection, to me that very much says that you would have a divinatory ability. It's your capacity to see what's coming. I remember an interview with someone who practices high magic talking about prophets being not so much people who see the future, but who understand the past. And if you think about it in that way, it's like you see the patterns and you're connected to these other races that have gone through this journey we're going through, as I say again. And we're at a very pivotal point, I think, around all of this. Your capacity to see that and possibly to be able to predict using different sorts of things like tarot cards, like tea leaf reading, like whatever particular divinatory things call to you, though it may very much be that you'd be very good at both of these things. That is something else that spirit and these entities are saying to you, that you could connect and get the information and get that clarity and build that sense of being your own boss, as I said. So since it said definitely that signs are going to guide you, the last part of this reading that I wanted to do was to look at what signs you would see to tell you you're on the right path, to tell you you've got that aha moment, to tell you that you can keep on keeping on because you're very close to what you are meant to be doing in the world. So we're going to pull a couple of cards just to see what other signs these entities may be sending to you, or spirit more generally. Okay, so this is interesting. So firstly, babies, some of you, there may literally be with the earth element there, you may be going to have a child that takes on this legacy with you, that gives you a sense of the future, that makes you particularly focused on what world is your child going to be born into. So it could literally be something like that in conception. If it's not that, if you're not wanting to have a child at the moment, or if you don't have children, you may see babies, you may hear discussions about babies, how children in the world as it develops are going to be impacted, maybe a very key sign for you around what it is that you're meant to be focusing on and developing. So that it could literally be a sign, or it could be saying that some of this is anchoring to your commitment to future generations and or potentially your own children. We've also got travel. So travel can work on two levels with this, I think. One is one of the restrictions that we have in the world at the moment. Again, if you're seeing this reading around the time of the second half of 2021, is restrictions on travel. So it may be even some of those issues are meant to make you think about freedom and about what is the balance and so forth that's required. It could be that you see this later, or we more rapidly get to a point where people can move in, that your job or your love for life or whatever it might be might mean that you travel, and that when you're traveling there are signs that are going to come to you. You are going to connect to other people and feel more part of something, less alone and so forth. So it could be that. It could also be that if you hear discussion about travel, if you see adverts for travel, any of those things may be signs that things that you were thinking about at that time, approaches that you are doing, ideas that you're having are on point and are going to help you come through with something. It could also be travel internally, travel on an astral level to the Akashic records, travel internally to the connections and dimensions that these entities, these species come from. At a very literal level, you may well be someone who literally travels if there is with them, if they actually came. So that depends upon whether or not you feel that you've ever been in a situation of traveling or having a close encounter of the fourth kind, for instance. So that's a possibility as well too. But for the most part, these cards are more about the kind of images and energies around it to give you a sense you're on the right track. So things around children, things around travel, that's somehow connected to this, both philosophically, I think, and also in cues that you are heading in the right direction. So pile one, you're definitely connected with some key interdimensional and extraterrestrial energy. Thankfully, very positive for us, but very appropriate for this time. And I think that very much means you have a mission at whatever level that is around those issues, and your own capacity to see what's coming up, your consequential thinking, and your capacity to get that message across is going to be important. But you will end up, I think, being your own boss or needing to run your own race. You need to be comfortable with being different to the herd at least initially until you find your soul tribe, because what you're looking at, you have a different perspective and a higher level perspective and a channeled perspective that many other people don't have. And that's not meant to criticize other people. It's just the truth that some people are connected. This is the whole point of these sorts of readings. So I hope that that's helpful, and I hope it resonates for you. And if so, please like the video and subscribe. And if it does, and you really have a sense about what this is that you're doing, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. These are the 3 cards from the Mystic Martian Oracle to give us an idea about what races, interdimensional beings, extraterrestrial beings may be connecting with you, and also why. This is very interesting. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I think many of the people who come to this reading may be incarnated from the Venusian race. And the reason that I say that is that around you at the moment, there are the Venusian energies, the Venusian race, and also the Andromedan race. And then we have the Kabbalah Tree of Life. And the Kabbalah Tree of Life suggests to me that this is about your karmic soul's journey, your development, and the choices that are done to manifest all the various energies in perfect balance and alignment. Now, the Andromedans are seen as being possibly the most advanced and most ascended of any race within the universe. They operate at the 12th dimension. They are fluid. They can travel without extraterrestrial vehicles. They can move between dimensions. They can shapeshift. They're highly evolved. They are in many ways the closest thing you could get, I think, to the balance that is described by the Kabbalah. And so they have gone through their own journey, and they're vastly, vastly superior to the human race. But interestingly enough, one of the main things that they think at this point, looking to Earth and looking to what's going on, is that they wish for people on Earth to be going through the ascension and to be freeing themselves and having the autonomy from all the other influences of lower dimensional entities, races, and even our own lower dimensional energies as Earth people. So they are all about autonomy, free will, and manifestation. They are the master manifestors, which also connects to the Kabbalah, because at the point where you are near Keter and Chokmah in the Kabbalah, you are the magus, the magician, the manifester. So there's a real balance here, and it really suggests something to do with your karmic destiny, your own soul ascension. And they talk about the importance of the heart being open, about a heart-based approach, and that's what the Venusians are all about. They're all about romance, soulmates, empathy. I feel the combination of this suggests, because this card does talk about how Venusians sometimes incarnate in this dimension, and because they're 4th dimensional, it's a bit of a hard transition into the 3rd dimension. So I feel this is saying that for many of the people who come to this, you may literally have spent lifetimes in this race, and you've come here for a purpose that has to do with your soul development and to support what the Andromedans are talking about, which is opening the heart and the caring and the balance that's necessary for humanity to ascend. Now, if it isn't literally that, then because this talks about soulmates and romance, and we have the Kabbalah, it may be energy that is saying that there is a soulmate energy for you in this life that is very important to your spiritual development, and in some way also to, at whatever level it operates, to the ascension and development of consciousness for people on this planet, to be supporting what the Andromedans are trying to connect. So they're connecting to you to help make sure you open the heart chakra. If you have incarnated from Venus, then it is a little bit harder in our dimension because it's moving back a dimension. So helping you to retain that autonomy, that free will, and that sense of open-heartedness, and understanding it on a very mystical level. So I think it's a very interesting combination. I do think a lot of this has to do with spiritual development for you as something that is a contribution to the consciousness more generally for the Earth. But I also think that there is a very strong energy here around love and around relationship in some way. So let's use the tarot and ask Spirit to tell us a little bit more about what these connections are. Why would the Andromedans be connecting with you? Why would the Venusians be connecting with you, particularly if you aren't literally of their tribe? What is going on here, and how does that connect to the sort of building of consciousness for yourself and for others? Okay, so you are meant, Spirit is saying here, pile 2, to create a long-term, I think, soulmate, long-term relationship. We've got the 10 of Pentacles, we've got that just under the Venusian thing. It also, I think, very much says soul family. I think that you are connected to that particular planetary system, that particular race, in a very material way and a very long-term way. But there is also a sense of a long-term relationship that is important. But maybe at this point in time, you are not sure either if the relationship you're in is the one, if you are in one, or if you're not in one, you're not sure about how to manifest that and bring it into being, because we have the Four of Pentacles next to that, which is more like being at a certain point around this and being a bit worried or scared to move to the next level. What if I lose something if I move to the next level? And with the Five of Cups reverse, it suggests that you have gone through a process of feeling disappointed in love, left alone, left out of the loving circle in some way. With it reversed, it suggests you're ready to move out of that energy, but you feel like you need to negotiate something with people, because we have the Seven of Swords, which is at its best negotiating really well. At its worst, it can be wondering if you're getting all the right information, whether you're being tricked in some way. So some of you may be in a relationship at the moment that's not the right relationship for you, pile 2, that it isn't authentic, and you're starting to see that because you're meant to be in an authentic and long relationship. For others of you, it just might be that there are very, very strong differences of opinion between you and your partner that you need to resolve and work through. Because at the moment with the Nine of Wands reversed, the energy of that is being very careful. It's the Nine of Wands is always having that last bit of energy to take something to its conclusion. But when it's reversed, it's like being very careful about how you use that energy. So there's just this sense of balancing things. And that balance is part of this, but it's trying to work out how to move something from an early stage into a longer term relationship. For some, this could be something like a twin flame type scenario, I would think, where there is often a tension and things that need to be worked out to bring that into its full form. But for others, as I say, it could be just a soulmate or a really important relationship, or even if you have come from that particular star system, that particular planet and race, another person who also has come from that you're meant to be with. And some of what hasn't worked out before is when you haven't been with the right person. But there's definitely a sense of needing to build something that's long-term and stable, and there's a promise of being able to do it. But for some reason at the moment, possibly because you've been hurt and burnt before, you're just not sure how to take that next step, how to negotiate that next step with the other party, or if you're alone, with finding the right person. So let's ask Spirit to just clarify those cards and give us a little bit more information on their advice, and also what advice you're getting from the Andromedans and the Venusians around bringing this to the best possible outcome for you. Okay. So I think what this is saying, pile 2, is that for some of you, you've either been in a relationship or you are in one at the moment that is not fully balanced for you. We have the King of Wands reverse and we have the Queen of Swords reverse. It feels as though it's controlling, it feels as though it's critical, or it feels as though you've come from that sort of basis. It may even be from your family that there was that kind of energy around you, and it makes you nervous and worried about taking the step. Like, how do you negotiate around this? It's like you've had to deal with, or you are currently dealing with, really imbalanced energy where you don't have the power or the control, or somebody is trying to control you in some way. And the important thing, if that's the case, is that's saying that is not the right one in the long term, that you put a lot of effort into it and the effort is not being returned. That's the thing to work out. On a very material level, are you getting back from all your loyalty and your commitment what you're giving? Because if not, that's not the right energy. It's exhausting. It exhausts you. You are meant to be more in the Four of Wands. You are meant to be in a very happy, balanced, reciprocal, joyful, long-term relationship. So this energy is about being flexible where you need to be, but not too much, understanding everything has to come from the heart, and understanding that even the difficult relationships were part of the journey to come to where you're meant to come to. So I think, again, that this is saying that this is all around a relationship at the moment, but whether it is that you've been in some that didn't work out and were a bit controlling and you're a bit gun shy of them, whether you're in one that's like that, or whether you're in one where you're worried that could be the case because some things are not clear. If you're in one where you're worried that it's the case that things are not clear, then I think there's a reasonable chance it is going to be the one, but you just need to feel more confident about it, because the lack of confidence energy there is being clarified by the happy energy here. The lack of confidence energy there is being clarified in the other direction by longer term. So for some, it is going to be that the one you're with is the right one, but you just need to be a little bit braver about saying what you want. It feels in that case as though you've been in other relationships where speaking your truth has meant the relationship has broken up. And for some of you, this may not be a love relationship we're talking about, but I do think for most it is because of that connection to the Venusian energy. So I want to have a look at a deck that is also based on what is happening in the heavens, the constellations, and it has a question. Each of the cards has a question. So what I'm asking Spirit and the Andromedans and the Venusians to be helping us here is the right cards for the right questions for you to be asking to get the best out of this energy and to get to this balance that you're meant to have around, particularly I think your love life, but relationships in general. This is interesting. This card came up with another reading, so there may be a few people who are coming to two of them. Pegasus is actually connected to the Andromedans, so that's a confirmation that they're very strongly with you. I just need to read the thing here because it's too small for you to see here, but Pegasus's question is, what if loving even the undiscovered parts of ourselves is the greatest act of revolution we are capable of? And Crooks asks, what if we are not measured by what happens to us, but rather by how we respond to it? So this is very much suggesting that something has made you feel unloved or unlovable or controlled in some way in relationships in the past or in a current relationship, but you are not meant to be there because your heart is very open. And it may even be saying that sometimes your heart is what's done that. You've been so loyal and so kind to people that maybe some people have taken advantage of it, but you're meant to find your person. You're meant to find the person that does that. And maybe you have to claim that for yourself. That is the greatest revolution you can do, claiming who you are and not letting other people determine how you feel, not determining your sense of self by other people, because you're a very loving energy, you're a very balanced energy. There's a large chunk of karma and spiritual growth that you have, and that you should not sell yourself short. Pile 2. So let's have a look at some of the other cards that were under the chakra placement stone. So firstly, some cards from a deck that looks at genetic and sort of spiritual legacy, talent, skills, and ways of using them that might be helpful for you in really accessing the energy and support of the Andromedans and Venusians around you at the moment. Okay, so firstly we've got the spiritual arts. So that suggests using creative energy, bringing in things with creative energy. So it talks about artist, designer, singer, sculptor. So it is a very creative type of thing. So it would suggest that there's something very creative in you, and that fits very much, say, with the Four of Wands energy as well. But also that you can manifest it with all the Pentacles energy that we're seeing. You have a creative message, a creative connection that may literally come through some form of TV, news, media, or platform like that where you reach out and you find the person, or you own who you are and own what your message is, which might be the thing that's important. And then there's astral projection, which is out-of-body experiences and teleportation. This is the connection, I think, very much to the Andromedan energy. I suspect you are a natural at astral projection, and they would be supporting you and protecting you and maybe taking you to places and showing you things, because you are so dialed in to the spiritual, and I think that they recognize that and they can see what a force for good. And that's, I think, why there's that sense of get that message out in the world. I think if you haven't found the right person at the moment, then bringing your message, your creativity, your love, your balance in some way out into the world, in whatever form that is, will bring that energy in. And that is you having that internal revolution. I have a message. I am enough in myself. I can do that. That brings, paradoxically, in your person. And this is why also I think why Crooks is there. It's important that once you do that, once you put yourself out on the public stage in some way, you're going to get lots of different responses. Not everybody's going to love what you do. Some people are going to be competing with what you do. All of that sort of energy is going to be there. But just remember that you are connected to these very high energies, and there is something very important here about bringing the right person in so that you can really manifest and show the benefit of that love energy and that balance. I am getting that for some of pile 2, you could end up in some form of power couple in a positive way that is seen in the world and shows to the world. But it could also be just at a much more local level, and you being with the right person, you can demonstrate what it is to have an open heart. So there's a very strong energy there. We'll also have a look from the Supernatural Oracle at what sort of supernatural legacies or gifts might also be helping you. Okay, oh wow. I feel like that really connects to that, and that really connects to that. So the fairy energy, your wishes are coming true. So you will find this person if you haven't yet, or if you think you have it but you haven't been able to balance it and sort it out, you will. Your wishes will come true. This is a really key part of your journey, is to find that love, that balance, that acceptance. The fairy energy, to me, the fae are very shape-shifting type of energy. They're very strange and mysterious, and I think would be very much connected to that Andromedan energy as well. So that makes sense. So there's that connection to you. So the fae, if you have ever looked into that, that might be sort of something to read about more and to look into, because there's something in that energy. And then we have the afterlife, reviewing your choices. So that's the spiritual connection creatively, and that's the Kabbalah. So this is saying this is about your karmic journey. This is about what you're ascending to. It's a very personal thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can be an example to others with this, and you, of course, bring love to the other person too. But this is a much longer term thing than just this life, pile 2. So to close out, I want to pull from another deck that shows what sort of signs you might see from the Andromedans, the Venusians, and from Spirit in general, that you're on the right path to believing in yourself, stating who you are in whatever forum that you are, and drawing that energy of love in for you, pile 2. Okay, it's very interesting that we've got the afterlife and then we've got loved ones in spirit. I think you may have a natural medium tendency, a natural gift at mediumship. You may literally connect, not only maybe, because I do think that some of you are coming from the Venusian race, those that you've been with before and those in spirit, and also the very highly spiritual sort of energy around the Andromedans. But with loved ones in spirit, I think this is suggesting that you also get messages and connections on that kind of medium level with those from your family or friends who maybe have passed on. So there is definitely that sense that if that resonates for some of you, when you get that is part of that energy, and they're probably also being supported by these races to get the right energy and right messages to you, and to remind you that you are loved and that you are worth being loved. If you don't have that, you don't have people who passed away or anything like that, it could be ancestors that are connecting, so just pay attention to that sort of thing. Or you may start to see things about mediums and about messages from beyond and the afterlife and so forth. So it could just be simply that concept that is telling you. It could be that the person, if you haven't met them yet, comes into your life and they have a lot to do with mediumship, or have a real sense of connection to loved ones in spirit. The other thing is clouds. I think when clouds come up, there's the very literal thing where, when you lie on the ground and you look up in the sky at the clouds, you can sometimes see images within the clouds. So what you see in clouds may well tell you something or be a message for you. You may also see or feel more connected on cloudy days. You may hear songs that talk about clouds. You may read poetry that talks about clouds. There's something in that space. It's also the sense to me always that the clouds come before the sun comes and the rainbow comes and all of that energy. So again, I think it's a very strong message from the Andromedans and Venusians to you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You are coming towards the relationship that you're meant to be with, that's part of your life purpose. So pile 2, I hope that resonates for you, and I hope that the reading was enjoyable. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if it does already connect for you and you can see it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Other than that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. So these are the 3 cards that were under the chakra placement stone for this reading from the Mystic Martian Oracle. And this is interesting. I think there's a couple of ways of reading these cards. The first one, the starseed. If you believe that you're a starseed, I think this is probably confirmation that yes, you are. And what this card talks about is some people who are starseeds have memories activated in them, and they have a very strong sense of that and what potential races or other places they're connected to. Others just have an inkling. They have a sense of the fact that they might have been, and they will often dream about UFO encounters or have astral travel that's connected to that, things that are trying to wake them up or remind them. And it's interesting that the greys have come up here as well too. And so I think there's a couple of readings of this. I think one is that you may be starting to see yourself and understand yourself as a starseed, but not yet know enough about what your connection is and where you've potentially come from. And so you may be starting to dream about things using the more conventional imagery that we've been given through the media and books and movies over the years around alien life forms, and that tends to be the greys. And so I'm getting that for some of you, it's not so much that you're really connected to the greys, this is your memory trying to tell you that you have lived somewhere else. And this connects with the Ouroboros, which is that sense of karmic cycles, eternity, the eternal soul and so forth, and that maybe your home is somewhere else and your connection is somewhere else. For others of you, you may literally have had interactions with the greys. You may have been an abductee, for instance. Now, if that's the case, then part of this is about freeing you and you understanding who you are and what it is that's attractive about you to that energy, because the greys are effectively a slave class to the draconian race. So you don't want to be caught in that energy. And there is a tendency sometimes with the Ouroboros of getting caught, and particularly around past lives and so forth, around karmic energy. And so the greys here in this card are timid, misunderstood, shy. They have their own issues around whether their race is going to continue and so forth. So there could be an energy here around how do you escape from energy around you that is draconian, that is controlling in some way, by remembering who you truly are. I think that's the key thing here, but some of you may literally have gone through that experience as well. And if you have, what I think Spirit is trying to say to you at this point is to have a better memory of that and what your other lives were is important. So what I'm going to do, even though we did get the greys, I'm going to shuffle the Mystic Martian thing again, and then I'm going to just deal out till I get another race, just to get a sense about where you might have come from, what your starseed legacy may be. Okay, so we've got the Syrians. I'm just going to put that there. Now that's interesting given the draconian energy there around control. The Syrians, and particularly in this deck, the Syrian B, connect to the Dogon legends and that sort of amphibious sort of energy and so forth, the Dogon tribe worshipped. And there's a sense around that, or a belief around that, that these Syrians came and gave certain information to that tribe, and particularly about being aware of ego and control mechanisms and how that can get in the way of spiritual development. So, and there is some talk that in some cases Syrians gave technology to power structures within this world that have not necessarily used it in the most appropriate ways. So I do think that this is saying that you have a connection to that system and that race and that level of understanding and knowledge. But the fact that it's connecting here with the Greys, I think that that is saying that there is something here for you around understanding the appropriate and right use of power, and that understanding and knowledge and so forth, because there are karmic implications. So I think that this energy here is meant to be spirit telling you, and your spiritual ancestry, your intergalactic ancestry, a memory of that, a memory of not being abducted, so to speak, into that energy, but understanding the consequences of things. This has quite a strong similarity in some ways to one of the other readings, so some of you may well have gone to one of the other readings. But given that, let's have a look at what Spirit wants to say about what is trying to come through to you at this point in time. If you are starting to have an understanding of who you are, why is that? What purpose is that serving in your karmic journey and a more broad sort of spiritual process for the world as well? Okay, I think you're meant to be a bit of a spiritual warrior, Pile 3. I think you have a bit of a mission. And at whatever level that is, in whatever level that battle is, whether it's in a workplace, whether it's politically, whether it's socially, whether it's in relationships. But I think in most it's in a larger scale than just an intimate relationship. I mean, it could manifest that way, but I think for most of you it's bigger than that. And I think that there's a major change coming. You are meant to be remembering some of this, because there is a major change coming in your life with the Tower that is going to require, with the Hangman reversed, you to look at things differently. So these memories are probably coming through more urgently at the moment. I think for many of you, you're probably getting very interesting dreams, sort of insights, flashes of knowing, all of that kind of thing. And it is to prepare you for a major shift that will have a material impact, but it's a good material impact. Like the fact that we've got the Six of Pentacles, which is a good balanced basis in terms of resources, generosity, reciprocity, all those sorts of energies with the Tower. It does suggest that what is being cleared out and cleaned out in your life allows for a much more stable basis for you, but it is going to require you to think differently, and it is going to require you to think about a different way to use strength. It feels as though you have been either in a family or in a workplace or something where might is right, where the rules are the rules are the rules, where, you know, that's what you do, and this is the way we do things around here, and that's all there is to it. And to some degree, you maybe have gone along with that, gone into almost the mindset of the Greys there, as opposed to the Syrians who have a higher level understanding of it. That's why you need to remember this, because your karmic journey here is about owning that strength, about turning that around, and you can negotiate your way into doing it. You are a very brilliant mind. You are really able to see things. This is part of this. You are advanced on an intellectual, technological, whatever it is. You may be very, very good around technology. You may be very, very good around science or philosophy or something like that. There's a brilliant mind there, and it's required to use that energy in a different way, because there is a battle, there is a shift happening in your life on some level, but it is to make you remember and understand what you're meant to do in the world, which is more around freeing yourself and freeing others from something, a freeing energy in some way. So let's ask Spirit to clarify some of these cards a little bit more for us around what advice they would give you to become this spiritual warrior, to be able to really bring that shift around for yourself and for others. Okay. Firstly, Spirit is saying, understand this battle, understand some of the losses that may occur in the battle as well too are ultimately for your good fortune. Don't see them as something that is continually sapping you. There are some disappointments that will come that will trigger your difference of perspective. I feel as though in the near future, through this energy, you will find people who are more aligned to you with the Three of Wands there, who are prepared to go on the same journey as you, that maybe have a similar starseed background. You're finding that, but it's in the midst of some form of conflict and emotional turmoil. And that does draw on your energy because you're highly empathic, and like that kind of energy kind of gets into you. So that's why it's important to be able to filter that out. But we have the Wheel of Fortune. Your very clever mind is going to turn the Wheel of Fortune to your benefit. It's like Fortuna is watching over you as a goddess. There is that sense, but it is because you really understand something that many other people don't understand. But there is conflict. There is something coming. There is something coming in your life, and it could feel with the Tower very tumultuous. But in actual fact, because it's the Five of Wands with that, the Five of Wands is never as big a conflict as you fear it's going to be. It's more like a squabble. It's more like a skirmish. You know, it's like something that's happening, say in a workplace where there are teams battling each other, the storming, forming, norming sort of concept that happens in organisational change. It's that sort of feeling. But I do feel as though there are some people in your life who you will move away from or who may disappoint you. And don't, Spirit is saying, don't let that dim your sun, dim your light. This is a learning experience so that you free yourself. If they go, that is the right thing, because there are the right people coming to you, and there is a very big shift in fortune that is good. But some kind of conflict is coming with it first, and it is all about liberation. That's why we've got these energies around you. It's about you understanding who you are so you liberate yourself. Even ultimately, we eventually liberate ourselves from the karmic cycle. We eventually move past the Ouroboros. So it may even be saying that some of the people for Pile 3 are on their last incarnation, in actual fact. And you are meant now to liberate yourself quite literally. But part of that is also to find the right people and to maybe inspire others. So that's pretty interesting. I want to use a deck that uses celestial constellations because it seems to be fairly aligned to this sort of reading, that has questions on it. So I'm asking Spirit and you know, in this case Assyrians, to help us with making sure that we get the right two questions that really help you in this particular journey. Pile 3. Okay, so first we've got Capricornius, which is obviously like Capricorn. So that very much makes me feel a lot of this is around work or some sort of very material structure that goes back to that. The question, and I'm going to have to pick this up to read it because it's small writing. What if that magic you were looking for was in the work you were avoiding? And then Ursa Major says, are you the hunter or the hunted? Okay, so this is the key around who you keep in your life and who you don't keep in your life, whether you stay in a workplace you're in, if it's about workplace, whatever it is. It's making sure that you aren't the hunted, that you aren't the one who's enslaved. It's understanding that you are meant to be pursuing something, not being pursued. And sometimes it's taking on the tower's change. Sometimes it's letting go of relationships and connections that are not working. Sometimes it is allowing yourself to use that clever mind, because I feel like you hold that in very strict regulation and maybe you don't like to use it. You feel like that's disharmonious. But this is, in this case, meant to bring the right fortune in for you. It's not, you're not going to become the thing you despise if you're worried about that. You're not going to become the new totalitarian by uprooting the old totalitarian regime. You are coming with a higher order of understanding of things and a higher order of understanding of the importance of liberation and freedom for all. So let's have a look using a couple of decks that we had cards pulled from under the chakra placement stone about your sort of spiritual, genetic and karmic gifts and approaches that may help you, and also supernatural otherworldly gifts that may help you. So firstly, the genetic gifts. This is interesting. Every single one of these readings has had a card that is about a platform in some way. So I do think people who are coming to these readings, whether you come to one or more than one, are meant to take a message out, are meant to take whatever that learning in is, take that message out. It may also be finding the right people through groups on Facebook or in some other form of social media. But that is a connection that helps you in some way, or it's part of how you help others. We also have the Akashic field that says all information, power, energy, and experiences vibrate here. So you are really drawing in that energy from the Ouroboros. You are drawing in a karmic energy and an understanding, and don't underestimate that. You have a natural ability there. Some of you may be an indigo child. This particular card talks about the Delta generation, which is born between 1988 and 1998. So you may fall into that category. If that's the case, then it's a further confirmation around the star seed and what energy you're bringing in, and it could be worth looking up information if you haven't already around the Delta generation of the indigo child. It may also be, if you're not in that there is someone from that group that you're going to connect with, that there is a karmic and Akashic connection which helps you find what you need to find and free yourself, or you may help that person free themselves from some form of oppressive situation. Using the supernatural oracle, we have telekinesis and hell. Wow, okay. So I think making your own drama here, I think that is very much saying that you need to understand what you're caught up in and what is worth letting go. Because if you try and hold on to things, particularly like this Three of Cups thing, it's making your own hell. It's keeping you in a lower vibration. You're not meant to be in a lower vibration. But because of that knowledge that you have and because of that very clever mind, you do always have to hold yourself in some regulation so that you don't slip into the lower vibrational energy, or you don't do, remember the Syrians, as I said, some of them gave technology and wisdom to the wrong people. I think this is a suggestion from Spirit to be careful who you share your wisdom with and how you use it. But I don't think you're going to be, I just don't get that sense you're going to become the thing you despise. It's just being aware of that and being aware that the third dimension is hell-like in some ways. I'm not saying we're hell, but it has so many power issues and we're dealing with so much change in that space. You may also have the ability for telekinesis. Literally, if you don't do that, it's the energy of taking charge of your life. So again, it's saying I can go through that change. I can face the tower. It's not hell. It's not destruction. It's actually rebirth and regenerating yourself. So taking charge of your life. Remember, we have the sun reversed there. You need to re-own your sun energy, what you have, and remember that helps you take charge. So I want to finish up with some cards that are from a deck that shows you the sort of signs that could be coming. In this case, probably, and one fell out, so I'm going to put that out, from the Syrians, but also from Spirit to you, that you are on the right track. Yeah, there's been a crossover. That's come up in another reading as well too. There's been a bit of a crossover here. I think quite a few people might go to more than one reading and you bring these things in together and you get the full picture if that's the case. So, nature. Things in nature are going to be a symbol for you. It could literally be saying get out into nature as much as you can to sort of, free your spiritual energy. But it's equally if you see things from the natural world, pictures, paintings, songs that are about nature, anything like that could be a key, a way of knowing that you are on the right track, that things that you're thinking about at that time or contemplating are connecting you. Also loved ones in spirit. So some of you may have mediumship type abilities. You may connect with ones who have passed on. You may have ancestors around you that are trying to connect with you. And remember, you have ancestors from the galaxies and probably from the Syrian energy. So in fact, it could even be Syrians in spirit that are connecting with you, loved ones from before. You could also hear songs about that sort of thing, hear about mediums, all of those sort of things. So you can take these cards on a couple of levels about what messaging it's giving. So there's something really big coming for you, Pile 3, and it's really good and it's really transformative and it's really liberating, but it's not necessarily easy. And it's really important to remember who you are, and to remember the lessons of the race that you came from, so you don't end up in that sort of scenario. If right at the beginning you're someone who does resonate with having the abduction thing, it's because of whatever your lineage is there. And again, remembering who you are liberates you from that if you need to get boundaries around that. So I hope that that does resonate for you, Pile 3, and I hope that you enjoyed the reading. And if so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if this does resonate, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. It's really interesting energy. Beyond that, I wish you well, and I hope to see you in future readings.